Welcome you back to the host position. Corey Erdman and Dan Canobbio now joined by Nakisa Bidarian and Jake Paul. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. First things first, how about the performance from Elise Soto?
Unbelievable fight, total action from start to finish. Jake and I were just saying, this is what makes women's boxing so exciting, because they go in there and throw down for every second, for every minute of every round.
That was incredible, fun to watch. Every single second of that fight was action, and this is what it's all about.
Yeah, and you know, as we predicted, if you start extending these fights to 3-minute rounds, it seems like what is happening with this sample size is you're taking the action that we're used to seeing in 2-minute rounds with women, and we're seeing it over 3-minute rounds. Dan was basically counting in his head, you know, that's 100 punch per round volume that we just saw there.
It's unbelievable. And look, most of these women who have an amateur background come from 3-minute rounds. So why can they not do 3-minute rounds as professionals, right? MMA, one of the things I respect about the UFC is when they brought the women in with Ronda Rousey, same rules, same rounds, same minutes. That's what we want to make sure that women have the option to do if they want to do that.
Obviously, we're seeing both with the open workouts here and with prospects like Soto and Crystal Rosado. I mean, you guys would basically have a conveyor belt of women's talent coming into MVP promotions now. Jake, tell me about that process and kind of gathering and shepherding this amount of women's talent that you now have under your banner.
Yeah, this is what it was always all about, and I think what we did with Amanda Serrano and so many other women's fighters, just MVP is the best home, and we're focused on women's boxing and giving them a pedestal because of the fight you just saw. It's incredible all the way through. Unlike some other promotions that are going on, these women have a point to prove, a chip on their shoulder, and so we want to work with the best talent and help put people on a pedestal. And we've just gathered this amazing group of women that all want to do big fights and put on amazing shows, and it's showing here in the product that we're seeing today.
How about this venue here at the Oculus? This is unheard of. I mean, think about MVPs like to push the envelope, push the limits on what could be done. So 300,000 people walking through here during the course of a day. It's not always you see a fight here in a subway station like this. Just talk about putting on this event and what it means to MVP in these women.
A long process, a partnership with the Port Authority, with the owners, Westfield, obviously with Netflix, and just proud of our team for continuing to lead, innovate, and disrupt. We started working together 4 years ago or 5 years ago, started MVP a little bit less than 4 years ago, and it's always been about disruption. It's always been about leading the charge to the younger generation, and we feel very proud of where we're at today.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that, Jake, because you know you've now been involved in some of the biggest fights, biggest events too in the history of boxing. When you entered the industry, what was it that you saw that you thought, okay, this needs to be bigger, or this needs to change, because this is something we've never seen before?
Yeah, boxing when we came in was like taxi, and it was so obvious that there needed to be an Uber, and so we're just the Uber of boxing. And there's so much innovation to be done in doing things like this, having sanctioned bouts during open workouts. I mean, there's much more innovation and fun things to come.
And you guys have also managed, sorry to cut you off there, Dan, but you've managed to take an event here between Taylor and Serrano that Dan and I, we were at the last two fights. We came away from them kind of thinking, I don't think it could get much bigger. And you imagined a way that it could. How did you imagine that you could elevate this rivalry to the degree that you have?
Listen, this is their Jake Paul, Mike Tyson moment, right? They're putting on a global event on Netflix. So both of them know what's at stake. Both of them know that it's not just about now, but it's the future of women's boxing. So they're doing everything they can to make this event as big as possible.
How about Jake Paul, the promoter? I know 2022, their first fight. I feel like that was your first foray into it. I remember watching your ringside going absolutely berserk, you and Eddie Hearn going at it. How about where you see yourself as a promoter now in boxing, where you can see yourself 10, 15, 20 years as Jake the promoter?
Yeah, I think I'm the youngest promoter in the game by far, by like 20 plus years. And I hope to lead the future of boxing with Nakisa and MVP and continue to just make the best events, the most exciting fights, and to put all of our effort into it, and to use my audience to push boxing and to push all of these young, amazing fighters and shine the spotlight on them and give them the opportunities that they deserve. And we're just getting warmed up, so things are only going to get bigger from here.
What's more fun, boxing or promoting?
Honestly, promoting, because boxing's hard. So it's fun to just come here and watch everyone else work really hard while I'm drinking Celsius and hanging out ringside.
Yeah, I was curious about that. As your experience, as you grow more and more as a fighter, has that changed how you think as a promoter? Are the things that you've experienced as a fighter that you say, okay, I've seen this in the industry, I now want to change it for the people I promote?
Yeah, 100%. You know, like, I can just give direct feedback. Him and I are the ones in charge. A lot of these companies don't really know what it's like to be a fighter and work hard in the gym like that and how much dedication it takes. And so a lot of people see it as a business, where we see this as a story and a purpose to create legacy.
What other current fighter has done what he's doing? Look at what we have here. Look at what MVP has become. We're a partnership, but he is doing things that no other boxer, previous, current, or in the future, is doing from my perspective. 28 years old, putting on the biggest women's boxing card in history, putting on these disruptive events. People need to recognize that.
That's going to be an absolutely fantastic and historic night coming up Friday, live on Netflix. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Welcome to the team, Corey.
Thank you so much, Nakisa. Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Jake. All right, let's send it back to Big Mo to keep the action rolling.